why it is that we drink so much?
Well, I think the reason is that, drinking is a very social thing. People have been drinking for millennia, but I think it becomes problematic when it becomes more meaningful than it should. And that usually happens, when people are missing something else in their lives, when they don't have purpose, when they're feeling that alcohol is the only way that they can socialize properly. These are the kinds of reasons. So people who tend to feel dislocated from the rest of the world tend to drink more and problematically. And then also, there's the effects of expectation, peer pressure, advertising perhaps to some degree as well. But certainly, I think the major thing is socioeconomic conditions, because alcohol literally drowns one's sorrows, and I think that's why we've seen these rising rates.
And important to stress from this World Health Organization report is that the issue isn't that the majority of South Africans enjoy alcohol. The issue is that those who do, a large portion of them abuses alcohol.
That's correct. In fact, it's quite interesting that the majority of South Africans actually don't drink or hadn't drunk in the last 12 months when they did this research. But those that did drank an incredible amount. We saw that, for example, if we looked at just the drinkers alone, they had 74% of their drinking experience was binge drinking, high episodic drinking, which is large quantities, more than 60 grams of alcohol in one drinking session, which is a lot of alcohol. And that's the big problem. If everybody was drinking moderate amounts, we wouldn't have the same problems. But when you've got some people drinking that level of alcohol, which is essentially poisonous to the body, it's going to cause problems.
An estimated 31% of South Africans who do drink, aged 15 years and older, are said to be abusing alcohol. And I'm wondering if one who starts as young as 15 is more likely to abuse alcohol in old age.
So if somebody starts earlier, they're certainly more likely to become dependent on it. These are kind of learned behaviors, and when you are young, your brain is more plastic and it learns things easier, and as you get older, it becomes more difficult to learn them. So when you set the pattern for drinking, when you go to alcohol to find meaning, when you go to alcohol to solve your problems, earlier, those patterns become more difficult to change later on in life. Having said that, most adolescents will experiment with alcohol or some form of other drug during their adolescence. It doesn't mean that they're doomed to become alcohol dependent for the rest of their life or drug dependent for the rest of their life. The vast majority of them will then stabilize and find that there's better things to do with your life than get drunk. Feeling the hangover the next day is not the greatest thing in the world. And so a lot of people will learn to cope and drink socially. But certainly if you become a dependent drinker earlier on, that means that you're going to probably have a bit of an issue trying to resolve that later. And besides, drinking below the age of probably the early 20s is not the best thing to do for the brain.
All right. Sean, thank you so much for your time tonight. That was Sean Shelley. He's from the South African Network of People Who Use Drugs.